TopMedTalk.
Nick Majerison here. This podcast contains information which younger listeners may find disturbing. However, we think it's important that awareness is raised around the world about this issue. Today's TopMedTalk is called the Grenfell Inquiry. It's presented by one of the founders of TopMedTalk, Martin Howe of Howe & Co., who represents families that were in Grenfell Tower on the night of the fire in 2017. It was presented at Dingle 2019, the 21st Current Controversies in Anaesthesia and Peri-Operative Medicine, and SIAA Autumn Congress. This is the second in a three-part series.
I want to talk about three families there. These are three representative families as opposed to going through everyone that was involved. But their stories are typical of what people went through on that night. It's the Talabi family. That's Sean Talabi, the man of 30 years of age at the time, from Nigeria, with his wife, Rosemary. And they lived in flat 113 on the 14th floor with their 4-year-old daughter, Kazia. Kazia suffers from autism, is a special cares child, in a very supportive and loving family. They woke up 1:30 on the morning of the 14th June to be met by firefighters rattling on their door. They opened it, and then there was just pure black, thick smoke outside. Firefighters in breathing apparatus, telling them to stay there. Stay in your flat, we'll come and get you. I went back in. About half an hour later, another knock at the door. Firefighters again. This time, bringing other residents from the same floor, because their flats had caught light, and putting them into flat 113. So Dennis Murphy, an Irishman, came in, man in his 60s. By that stage, he was in a bad way. Sean's wife sat him down on the couch, wiped the dust and soot and blackness from his eyes and his ears and his mouth. He wasn't really able to move that much at that stage. They're also joined by Zainab and her son, both from Sierra Leone. Jeremiah, the son, was only 4 years old at the time. And also by two brothers from Syria, Mohammed and Omar. So there was our family, the three, plus another 4 people had come in. Sean went to the door to see what we could do to try and get out, and realised it was virtually impossible. So what he did was he then got all the bed sheets, it's like you see in a prison film, all the bed sheets, towels, pieces of clothing, and tied it together to make a rope. And he intended climbing down the outside of the building with his daughter strapped to his back. He was then going to drop, he said, and land on his front, save his daughter, and get out. He in fact did climb out the window, threw the rope out, climbed out the window, but then when he was holding it, he wasn't convinced that it was going to actually hold their weight. So he tried to get back in, he couldn't. And the 2 Syrian brothers came and carried him back in. There, in fact, if you look carefully, see on the right-hand photograph's probably the best. You can see the rope hanging down there. That's what Sean made. And at about 2:45, the firefighters came again. And they knocked on the door and said, just get out, get out. So he had tied his daughter to his back with ropes. And he grabbed his wife's hand and they dashed. They got out. He managed to get down the stairs. When he did, they realized that the firefighters hadn't brought them all. One of the brothers was down with him. One wasn't. Dennis wasn't, nor was the young child and his mother. and the 4 of them died in the flat that night. It's one of the contentious matters in Grenfell because the firefighters claimed that they checked the flats, make sure it was empty. Clearly it wasn't. And the firefighters were fantastic on that night. Heroes, very many of them. But obviously mistakes do happen. Mistakes can happen. And that is one of the, that's probably the most contentious issue concerning the firefighting action that night, flat 113 on the 14th floor. This is the Neda family, beautiful family. Family from Afghanistan. They came here, or came to London as refugees 20 years ago. Father on the left there, Saber. He was an army captain over in Afghanistan and fought against the Taliban. Taliban had threatened him and his life, his family's lives, so they had fled. And they came to the UK. They had one son. Farhad's in the middle there on his graduation day. Graduated as a mechanical engineer. And his mother, Flora, on the right. She was on the 23rd floor, the highest floor in Grenfell. But she was disabled. Her mobility was very poor. They came back from a night out because it was Ramadan, actually, on the 13th of June, 14th June. So many Muslim families were out breaking bread with their family and friends. They came back 2 minutes before the fire broke out, and they're seen getting into the lift and going up. When they got up to the top, the ventilation system there was noisy. It often broke down. There's a ventilation system that was meant to bring fresh air in and drag smoke out. Another contentious issue in Grenfell. It didn't work. But they realized something was wrong as soon as they got to the top. They went into their flat, had a word about it. They could hear noise and commotion. And then they decided to leave. But when they went to go out, they were met by a wave of people coming up the stairs, running away from the smoke and the flames. 4 women came into their flat. And then the family were there. They were phoning, making 999 calls, being told the firefighters were coming. The truth of it was they couldn't get past the 15th floor. And these people were stuck on the 23rd. Only 2 people survived from the 23rd floor. And that is Farhad and his mother. Father, as the family went to leave, the father stopped to assist the other women who were in the flat with him. The last sight that his son saw of him was he was putting wet cloths around the face of the other women. But the fire then became incredibly overwhelming on the 23rd floor. They were back to the windows. And in fact, Saber, the father, decided his best chance out there was to jump. And he died in the playground below. The women also died in the flat. The only reason that the mother and son got out was because the son carried his mom on his back down the hallway. There's Saba the father. He was in his army clothing, and there he is having a nice cup of coffee. But before he died, he left a message on a relative's mobile phone. I'm going to play that to you, and you'll see the words underneath it. Three people died from jumping. Sabbath from one of them, obviously. Third and last family I'm going to talk to you about is the Gomez family. Again, another beautiful family, Portuguese family. Marcio there on the left, his wife, Andrea, and his two daughters, Luana and Megan. They were on the 21st floor of Grenfell Tower. And they were woke at 1:30 in the morning by one of their neighbours knocking on the door saying, "The place on fire." So the neighbour, Helen Gembriskull, and her daughter came into their flat. And they started phoning 999 to get through to find out what's going on. Overall, they made 4 phone calls. First 3, they were told to remain and stay where they are. And finally, at 3:30, they were told to leave. But the smoke, acrid, poisonous smoke, was thick in the lobbies and thick on the staircase. You couldn't see a thing. So let me just show you something. At 2:30, Marcio decided that he would try and get his family and the 2 neighbours out. So he took a video going up to the front door to see what's going on. And you'll see a black screen on this. It's not a mistake. It's what was outside when you opened the door. So this is at 2:30.
Why are you crying? Why are you crying? You are crying.
When they did go, they went in a crocodile formation. Marcio put Helen at the front, an adult. They put the 3 children in the middle, and then they put his wife. His wife at the time was 7 months pregnant. She had a baby boy who was to be born, Logan. They were delighted. They had 2 girls, and they were delighted that a son was on the way. They prepared for it. One of the bedrooms in the flat had been converted to a baby's room. And what made them leave at 3:30 was that the fire had broken into the flat and had caught light on the Moses basket. When they saw that, I thought it is time to go. They didn't think they'd make it. Marcio had been running the shower for as long as the water kept going in Grenfell. He wrapped his family and their 2 friends in wet towels, and then he led them down the stairs. This is Marcio at the Grenfell Tower Inquiry. I've listened to the telephone calls that were made with the emergency services that night, the 4 999 calls. I'm going to play a little bit of the last one. There was a command room officer called Heidi Fox. Wonderful woman, actually. She encouraged them as they were going down, but I'm not going to describe it. You'll hear it. You can imagine facing out into that black smoke, and you just listen to the coughing and the spluttering. What happened was that very soon the family did get separated. The 2 girls, there were 2 of the girls, there were 3 also, but 2 of the girls coming down didn't hold on to the rails as asked to, because they had 2 pet dogs. They had the pet dogs under their arms. As Marcio found later, he found that he was down the stairs and he could hear the girls back up behind him. And he went back up.
You need to get your family outside.
Yeah, we're doing it now.
Okay, keep phone with you and I'm going to stay on the line, okay?
Okay.
Okay, all hold hands, okay, and get as much wet clothes on you as possible.
All hold hands, girls. Hold hands, girls. Everybody hold hands.
Right, put some wet clothes or wet... put it against your mouth. Put some over your mouth.
Yeah, we've got it. Everybody's got it?
Right, you all together?
Yeah, we have to go. We have to go to the fire.
They're on the corridor now. They're trying to get downstairs. All holding hands. Yeah, I'm still on the phone to him. Yeah, I told him. Yeah, I know. Right, hello? Yeah, so Simon, no. I know you don't talk to me. Just listen to me. So Simon, no, that you're on that floor now, okay? Take a few deep breaths because you've got to be strong, okay? You've got to be strong.
Come on.
Don't give up.
You can't, come on.
Don't give up.
Come on, where's the fire brigade? Jesus!
They should be there.
Come on, girls.
Struggling to breathe. We've got them.
Come on.
They're being so brave. So brave.
Girls, come on, it's better down here. It's better down here, come on.
There's no air.
Come on, keep following the rail, come on, push. Push through.
He's got 3 kids and his wife. Are they?
3 kids and a heavily pregnant wife. And I've
His
lost
wife's
track.
really pregnant. He's lost her.
Girls, come on. Keep walking down. Keep walking down, girls. Girls, keep walking down. Keep going. Keep going.
Keep going. What?
It's better down here.
Is there more air down there?
There's nobody here still. Come on.
You get an idea what it was like in the stairway. That phone call went on for 33 minutes. It's an interesting medical case, because how did he actually survive in the fumes, poisonous fumes of that night at that time? See, the intensity of the poisonous gases changes over a period of time. But the 2 girls passed out on the stairs. But he went back up. He got firefighters. He went back up, and they brought them down unconscious. And they went to King's Hospital and Praed Street. His wife, Andrea, got out, but was then taken to King's and put into an induced coma. And the child, Logan Gomez, was delivered by cesarean that night, stillborn. He died of cyanide poisoning. Marcio was there for the delivery of his stillborn child. And there's Logan. What a loss. What a terrible loss. The youngest death at Grenfell Tower.
TopMedTalk.
Nick Majerison here. You've just listened to part 2 of the TopMedTalk series, The Grenfell Inquiry. Part 3 is out tomorrow. Part 1 was out yesterday, if you check the podcast feed. The full talk will also be available on Sunday here on TopMedTalk. For more information on this talk or anything else related to TopMedTalk, check out our website, www.topmedtalk.com. The podcast show notes contain links with more information about this piece. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe to TopMedTalk.